Growing up the child of an alcoholic, I felt incredibly alone and isolated. I felt like no one could understand what I was going through, or no one could understand the experience of having an alcoholic parent. I felt like I was the only person in the world who had gone through what I had gone through. And if you can relate to this, keep watching, because I'm about to show you how you can move out of this mindset and into one that is so much more empowering, into a mindset that it's going to allow you to step out of being stuck in the past and feeling misunderstood. Because trust me, I have been there. I'm Corey. I'm a trauma-informed mind-body practitioner, and I work with adult children of alcoholics to help them move out of survival mode, release shame, and start living a life on their terms. And today we're talking about feeling like no one understands your pain. They say hurt people. And for a very long time, I fell into that category. I had this mindset that because I was being mentally and emotionally hurt, that justified me doing the same to other people. Looking back, I am not proud of that behavior. And I do want to make it very clear, childhood trauma, any sort of trauma, does not give you the right to hurt anyone else. The problem is that when we feel like victims to our pain, when we feel like a victim to our past, we don't really see any other way forward. You have this constant churn of thoughts of why does this always happen to me? No one understands what I'm going through. It's not fair. Why did I have to grow up in this environment or with these circumstances? These thoughts, they do feel justified. And if I'm really honest, they did allow me to cope for a very short period of time. But staying in that mindset does one thing, and that one thing is it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in pain, it keeps you stuck in suffering, and it keeps you stuck in the mindset that you don't have control over your own life. And this is really when your self-worth, your self-esteem, how you view yourself really starts to take a hit. And here's exactly why this is happening to you. As a child, you didn't have control over your home environment. When your parent was drinking, there was chaos, there was unpredictability, there was anger, there was fear. Your nervous system just learned to accept that instability was your normal. Now, as an adult, your brain is still wired and acting as if it's in a state of survival. It assumes that because you had no control back then for such a long period of time, that now you still have no control, even though that may not be the reality. Now, this is a tough one to hear, and I do love a hard truth, okay? Because I think they are really freeing. But when you are stuck in a victim mentality, it kind of gives you this excuse or pass to not take responsibility for yourself or for your future. You blame your past for everything that's happened in your life up until this point, and probably use your past as an excuse to not take action in a certain direction to move forward. And even though, I'm not saying that blame is not justified, it is. What you went through was a very real experience. But what it is doing, it's removing the responsibility that you have to change your own life. A lot of people will have this mindset that, well, my parent ruined my life. I didn't ruin my life. So why should I take responsibility for my healing? And look, I get it. But unfortunately, you didn't ask for the trauma. You didn't ask for the suffering. No one does. But as adults, unfortunately, it is our responsibility to heal from it. And that can be really difficult to accept. I get that. But until you can get to the point of accepting that, it is going to be very difficult for you to move forward. Because that mindset of, oh, my parent caused this, so I don't have to, or I don't want to take responsibility for changing it. That is what is going to make it really difficult for you to move forward from your past, to move forward from the pain and the suffering. And there may come a point where your brain will actually start to work against you. Because your brain, because your brain is wired to confirm what you already believe. It's called confirmation bias. So if you believe you're a victim, your brain will filter out anything that contradicts that belief and really hyper focus in on things that reinforce that belief. You'll really notice that anytime life feels unfair, or anytime that someone lets you down, or anything that might justify you feeling as a victim, you will really notice those things in your life. And you'll completely overlook the times where you do have control, where life is going well, and where people are really showing up to support you. But the great news is, guys, neuroplasticity, you can rewire your brain for change. The moment you start challenging these beliefs, the moment you start being aware and actually having the awareness and noticing, is that really the reality? Or is that just a victim mentality belief that I have? The more that you do that, the more your brain will start to rewire itself. So start paying attention to the inner dialogue that you're having. Start paying attention to the voice inside your head. And as I said, catch it every time you notice the negative thoughts. Anytime you notice that the thoughts are just the automatic churn of negativity that's going through your mind, catch it and stop it. Pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, are these thoughts true? Are these beliefs and thoughts that I'm having helping me, or are they keeping me stuck in the past? Instead of constantly asking yourself, why did this happen to me? Ask yourself, what can I do now to improve it? And this does not mean you're ignoring your pain. This does not mean you're burying your head in your sand and not acknowledging what happened to you. This is about choosing a more empowering mindset and recognizing that yes, pain has happened in the past, but you can choose to show up differently so that you can create a different future. Your childhood trauma, the experiences that you had, there's something that happened to you, but they are not who you are, okay? Your identity is not the child of an alcoholic. Your identity is not your pain and your suffering. And I want to make this very clear. Yes, we label ourselves as adult children of alcoholics. But remember, that's not what or who you are. You are you, an individual, and you've had an experience which has now led you to be an adult child of an alcoholic. But that is not your identity. And please, this is one thing I always say to my clients. Don't allow your pain and your suffering to become your identity. Because if that is your identity and that's how you view yourself, it's very difficult to change that. You are so much more than what happened to you. And when you stop being defined by your past and stop identifying and using that as a label to label yourself with, you make so much more room for healing, for joy, for contentment, for the idea that you can actually live and be a different person. I want to touch back on what I said at the start of this video, and that was about feeling like no one understood me, or no one understood my pain, or no one understood the experience of having an alcoholic parent. And that was very true, but people may not understand you or understand your past fully, but you can help them. I remember telling my best friend years ago about things that were happening at home with my alcoholic parent and things that were really, really distressing and upsetting to me. And she was never able to fully understand what I was going through. She was never able to really relate to it. And, I would usually just be met with a saying of, yeah, I could never understand what you're going through, or I just can't imagine what it's like. And at the time, it's hurtful. Obviously, I completely understand. She doesn't get it. How would she? She never lived through it. But at that moment, in those moments where you are, in the very rare time, probably expressing how you're feeling to someone, all you want is for them is to fucking say, yes, I get it. You want someone to just validate your pain and to make you feel seen. But here's what I realized. You can actually help people understand your pain, understand your past, understand what it's like having an alcoholic parent, because it's a very complex experience. It's a very difficult thing to explain to someone who hasn't been through it. But there's one way you can start, and that is with vulnerability. Now, look, I know, I get it. The word vulnerability used to make me want to vomit. I could not think of anything worse. But the truth is, being open and honest and vulnerable with those around you, with your loved ones, with your friends, with your partner, and allowing them in, allowing them to fully see and understand what you have gone through, is really going to allow them to see a completely different side to you. They're going to be able to look at you in a different light and actually start to maybe understand a couple of things that you do that they might find a little bit weird or annoying. It'll actually give them more context around that. And as they get more context, as they get more understanding, they're able to support and relate to you a lot more. Look, as I said, vulnerability, it's still difficult for me to be vulnerable, although not as much as it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. But it's very difficult for children of alcoholics to be vulnerable. And the reason being is because if we were vulnerable in our childhood growing up, that probably resulted in us getting hurt, whether that was emotionally, mentally, or physically. We usually see vulnerability as a weakness. And what we did, and what I did, is I built up a wall around me. And this was like my protection mechanism, so that I couldn't get hurt. But with that wall, that blocks the vulnerability coming out. And when you spend such a long time not being vulnerable and not practicing that vulnerability, it is very difficult to start doing it again, especially when it's something that didn't feel safe. Something that your mind has really enforced that being vulnerable is not safe. But now as an adult, that you don't need that wall as your protection mechanism. It's actually holding you back. It's holding you back from really forming deep connection with those around you, and really holding you back from allowing maybe a side of you to come out that those around you have never seen before. One that they would really love to be able to connect with. So instead of having the mentality of no one understands me, I'm a victim to my past, no one gets me, no one can understand what I've gone through, maybe start to let them in. Maybe start to slowly let them try to understand you and see what happens. So let's go through a couple of different steps on how you can really start to break the cycle. Now, get a pen, get your paper, get your journal, or just use your phone and write these down. Step 1 is acknowledgement. Yes, acknowledge your pain is real. Acknowledge your experiences are real. They happened, but they do not have to hold you back. They do not have to define who you are as a person. Remember, you are not your trauma. Your trauma is something that happened to you, but it's not who you are. Step 2, notice when you are slipping into victim mentality. Are you blaming everything that happens to you in your life on the past? Are you assuming that people are not there to support you? Are you assuming that people don't understand what you're going through? Are you allowing them to understand what you're going through? And step 3, start small with vulnerability. Share small things. Test the water with people around you. One thing that I did that really allowed me to start being vulnerable with my husband was because I could not verbally explain how I was feeling. One, because I just didn't know how, because for so many years I just kept everything bottled down. 2, again, I felt like I was going to vomit. Like, for me, trying to verbalize how I was feeling to someone, I was like, there's no way. What I could do was I could write it. So what I started doing was I actually started writing him letters and writing down the why behind maybe I was showing up in a certain way in our relationship. Because, like, I'll be honest, I have certainly not been perfect in my romantic relationship. I've caused a lot of problems throughout. Like, we're nearly together 7 years. At the 7 years we've been together. And I would feel a lot of shame and guilt around the things that I would do. For me to be able to explain to him why and help him understand the why behind my behavior, I would start to write him letters, and I would start to write down exactly how having an alcoholic parent had caused me to do X, Y, and Z. And this was a nice little, like, soft way into being vulnerable. And as I got more comfortable with writing it, I then was able to get a bit more comfortable with saying, like, small little things, not like word vomiting everything out at the start, but build up. So if you're really struggling, if you're someone like me who just cannot vocalize vulnerability, write it down. It is so much more easier. And remember, guys, shifting out of this mindset, it's not going to happen overnight. Like all of this work of healing as children of alcoholics, it takes time and it takes practice. And unfortunately, there is just no magic pill that's going to make it happen in 24 hours. But every time you choose empowerment over victim mentality, you are taking one step closer to really living that life that you want to live. You're taking one step closer to being fully in control of your life and no longer allowing your life to be controlled by your past and your pain. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, if you've ever felt like no one could possibly understand what you're going through, I want you to know this. I know what it feels like to be stuck in this cycle. I know what it feels like to think no one understands you, to feel like healing and a different life is just too big, too overwhelming, and way too far away from where you currently are. But I am living proof that it can be done. And if I can do it, then so can you. The good news is, my friends, you already have strengths that you don't even realize. Skills that you developed as a child of an alcoholic. And these skills can actually help you heal. They can help you on your journey to being the person you want to be. That's exactly what I'm covering in the next video. So if you're ready to start using your past as a source of power and not pain, click on the video that pops up at the end. If you like this video, if you resonated with what I was saying about victim mentality, please like and subscribe to my channel, and please share your thoughts and how you related in the comments below.